The forgotten men and women of America will be forgotten no longer. That is the heart of this new movement and the future of the Republican Party.
President Trump laying out a new path for the GOP, addressing conservatives at the CPAC conference this week. And it's time now for our Sunday group. Advisor to former British Prime Minister David Cameron, Steve Hilton. Fox News political analyst and columnist for The Hill, Juan Williams. Julie Pace, who covers the White House for the Associated Press. And Washington Examiner contributor, Lisa Boothe. And Steve, first-time Fox News Sunday panelist, welcome.
Well, it's great to be here, Chris. I just wish there's more to talk about. Very boring
You become an American commentator, and we give you this fire hose to drink out of. Julie, as we've been discussing, there are some divides among congressional Republicans. Forget about the Democrats on issues like Obamacare and tax reform. Do you expect the president in his primetime speech, if not to settle those issues, to give some direction?
Well, Republicans are certainly hoping to get some direction on a couple of key things. One, tax reform, how to pay for it. This border adjustability program that Paul Ryan's office is really pushing, but Senate Republicans are opposed to. Paul Ryan's office is looking for a really clear signal from the president that he supports this. He's been talking more warmly about it, but hasn't given a full-throated endorsement. I think Obamacare, though, is what Republicans and Democrats are going to be looking for some real direction on, because this is one that is going to come up first ahead of tax reform on Capitol Hill. And while Republicans are fully on board with the idea of repealing Obamacare, there are huge divisions over what a replace package would look like. And first, President Trump said he wanted to see them move quickly on this. Now he said this could go into next year. And beyond outlining the couple of popular provisions of Obamacare that he wants to keep, he really hasn't talked in detail about what the rest of the replace package would look like, how he would look to pay for it, and what this would do to people who might lose coverage under the current program.
Obviously not really into the details, but some kind of direction in this speech?
Everything we've heard from the White House so far is that we should expect sort of a broader address, that this is going to be more his vision for the country, less a kind of laundry list. But I think that you're seeing Republicans behind the scenes trying to push the White House to get a little bit more specific than maybe they're hoping to right now.
We heard from the president's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, this week. For a lot of people, it was the first time they had literally ever heard his voice. And here's what he had to say about Trump priorities at the CPAC conference.
The first is kind of national security and sovereignty. The second line of work is what I refer to as economic nationalism. The third, broadly, line of work is what is deconstruction of the administrative state.
Steve, we don't think of Donald Trump as especially ideological, but Steve Bannon clearly is. Does this kind of intellectual overlay, as I say, there are a lot of ists in it, does that serve this president?
I think that there are elements of it that do, but I think that actually you're right, that he's more pragmatic, and that's what really Trump is more pragmatic, and I think that that's what he really needs to convey in this speech. I think Julie's exactly right that he will cover a lot of ground and it will be broad. However, I think it really needs to have a focus, and the focus has to be on the issue that really got him elected, and I think that is his promise to deal with the economic crisis, the real economic crisis that is affecting around half of Americans without a job, with incomes that have fallen for the last couple of decades, people who've lost that sense of economic security and hope. That's what he's got to focus on. And the elements of that are pretty straightforward, much more straightforward, actually, than anything on Obamacare. It's the tax cut, the business tax cut, and the repatriation so that money is invested here in America. And it's the infrastructure, which we almost seem to have forgotten about. That was a big part of his campaign promise. So I think he's got to put the focus on getting the economy moving.
We ask you for questions for the panel, and on this issue of what the president should tell Congress, we got a number like this. A tweet from VG, stay on topic. Job creation, taxes, health care, stay positive. Bring the country together. Don't talk about critics. And this on Facebook from Kathy Roberts, it would be nice if he would start to unite this divided country and start a healing process. He's still campaigning for a job he won. Lisa, what do you think of the advice and how likely that President Trump will follow it?
I would agree with the advice. I mean, I do think that President Trump realizes that he's going to be addressing Congress, and I think he does realize about the challenges that he faces, because if you look at the dynamics, particularly in the Senate, which is really what matters for President Trump in trying to move his agenda forward, there's a lot of complexities there, both with Republicans who have already voiced objection, whether it's over the border adjustment tax or with even, the differing opinions on how to move Obamacare forward. And then you also have those 10 vulnerable Democrats who might also be facing primary challenges to their left. So there's a lot of complexities that he's going to be dealing with. So I think he recognizes that this is an opportunity for him to set the agenda, to lay it out, hopefully offering some more specifics. But I do think that we'll see a little bit more of a positive tone than maybe we saw at CPAC or some of the more recent speeches that he's given.
Well, and that brings up the question, Juan, are all of these attacks, because certainly, if not for the first 2 weeks, certainly for the last 2 weeks, so many attacks on the media, so many attacks on political opponents, are they serving this president well politically, or do you think it's getting in the way of his agenda?
Well, I think obviously with the base, demonizing the press, it seems to me to be a continuation of the campaign in which he goes after Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, even the intelligence agencies that are looking into his ties to Russia. But even as it feeds the base and their distaste for mainstream media and persuades them, listen to me, don't listen to the press and my critics, it serves as a distraction from the fact that he has accomplished so little of the pledges that he made to his backers during the campaign. Obamacare, tax reform, build the wall. These things haven't happened. There's a fact check out today, Washington Post, that says he's only done about 10% of all the things that he said he would get done in the first 100 days.
Well, it's only been 1 month.
Right, but I think that it's critical. I think it's critical to understand he was talking about things that he would get done out of the box that would transform this government, drain the swamp, that there's so little progress on that front. And when we come back to the press, you see a very interesting thing here. The Quinnipiac poll this week showing that despite his constant attacks, saying the press is the enemy of the American people, Steve Bannon telling the press, shut up, you were wrong about the election, so just shut up and listen. Guess what? The American people still trust the press and First Amendment rights more than they trust this president.
Lisa?
I actually disagree with Juan here, surprising. But no, I think that President Trump actually has a lot of room to run. Because if you look at polling, Democrats are really the only group of voters that trust the media. You look at the most recent Gallup poll regarding the media, only 14% of Republicans trust the media, only 30% of independents.
But to a certain degree, that's beside the point. I mean, he's not going to... As I said in my conversation with Corey Lewandowski, he can bash the press all he wants. It doesn't create jobs.
It doesn't create jobs, but what it does do, but also what is he supposed to do? You look at the general election, 91% of the coverage was negative towards him. You look at the fact that
he's president.
I understand that, but I know, but this coverage has carried into his administration as well. There's been a lot of completely blatantly false stories out there regarding made-up meetings between Steve Bannon and General Kelly. I mean, there's been the information surfacing the dossier which every publication said is unsubstantiated, unverified. There's been numerous reports that have not been true, and I think John Dickerson was correct when he said that the media has ruined their reputation on their own. So I think there's a general lack of distrust with the information that is surfacing.
Real quick, we got 30 seconds.
Sweden, illegal votes, crowd size, where's this come from? It comes from Donald Trump putting out what he calls alternative facts.
All right, you know what? We're never going to settle this.
No.
But we will continue to talk about it. Let's take a break here.